Oh, YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Buddha back in the building for another Last Cloudia video. Something that I think will help out a lot of newbies and or players that are struggling with a certain game mode in Last Cloudia, as you can tell by the title. This is the Buddha official guide to taking on the Tower of Trials. I've got 6 days left to do it. I've got to get that live stream going. I'm trying to figure out which day in the next coming days would be best for me, so bear with me on that. But shout out to Utari in the Discord. I was struggling to think of an idea to come up with for a video, and he said, how about a Tower of Trials guide? And I said, you know what? That's actually a great idea. Now, here's the thing about the Tower of Trials. There are many ways to beat this. So this guide is really going to just be what things I discovered along the way that helped me specifically complete the Tower of Trials. There are certain team comps, different strategies that you can use, but I just want to highlight some general points, some key points to keep in mind. So hopefully if you are going into the tower, if you've been struggling at a certain part, I am able to cover something or a key detail that you didn't know before that now that you're aware of it will help you to fix the issue. And of course, if you need further help, feel free to join the Buddha Gang Discord, where we can help you real time, right? Me and a lot of the other mods and players are always there, ready to help out. Something I love about this community is that everyone is so open to helping each other out. The toxicity is at an all-time low. But the Tower of Trials is definitely something that you want to work towards beating at the end of each month or whenever it returns, because you do get the LR Ark Phantom Tower, which is an okay arc in itself, has some nice teachable skills, but it really is appealing for the Phantom Tower key, which I have showcased in a lot of my DPS builds. That is the accessory that does give you a nice little 500 on top of your damage cap right here, you can see, and some nice stat sticks. So something you want to work towards and get as soon as possible, as soon as you can. So let's get started. So to start out, I want to say this is endgame content. And in order to take this on, I think as a general rule of thumb, you're going to need at least 3 characters built out, and specifically 2 types of DPS and a support. Healer, debuffer, kind of in one character. You can't bring a friend unit to help you along with this certain event. You do have to rely on 4 of your characters, but I'm trying to think of the bare minimum you would need to realistically clear the Tower of Trials. If we go ahead and click, right, we bring 4 of our own characters. I could easily finish this tower with Alice, Nero, and Tyria. I don't think that 4th character slot is completely necessary for you to clear the tower. So that's why I just want to say, you want to make sure you've got 3 characters, 2 DPS, 1 support. The DPS roles can either consist of 1 physical DPS, 1 magic DPS, or as you can see what I have, you can have 2 physical DPS, that being Nero and Alice, with either Alice, or you teach all of your DPS units Death God, which is actually a skill if the unit doesn't already come with it, which there are only a few that come with this skill or a skill with this same kind of effect. God of the Dead is the SSR arc you can get Death God from. Physical attacks have a chance to deal instant death. Now you might be asking why. Well, actually this is just a nice skill to have for speeding up your clear time in the tower in general, but where it's especially useful is where we'll get into it a bit later in this guide. It allows you to one-tap enemies that are typically physically immune to damage. There are a couple gimmicks and stages in the tower where you need to rely on magic damage in order to clear the enemies, or you can cheese it with Death God here. So that's why I say you typically want 1 magic DPS, 1 physical DPS, or if you do have Death God and you don't have the capability to level up a magic caster quickly, that's a quick workaround and something that will be needed if you only have your 3 characters, 1 support, 2 DPS, and those 2 DPS are physical in nature. Talking about the support role, I have written down, if you have Tyria, she covers all bases. She is the support character you need to make the content that much easier. She turns the game, as others have said before me, into easy mode with the amount of support and heals and utility that comes in her kit naturally. You don't even need to raise the skill cost up to 80. If you just max out her ability board, she'll do the job just fine. I should also mention, buy a maxed out character. I'm sure there are ways that you can work around not having a character maxed out, but I want to kind of set some standards for this guide. By maxed out, I mean level 100, not necessarily, anywhere from level 80 to 100. You've got their board maxed out completely, and you've got their skill cost 80 out of 80, right? Tyria is the exception because she comes with everything she needs in her ability board. And Awaken to 4 is also pretty important in my book. So that's what I mean by maxed out characters. Again, this is end game content, so you can expect you need some maxed out stuff in order to clear it. As some other support roles that I tried to identify, a general banner unit that I think can help you get through what you need is Tinkley, right? Even OG Tinkley can do the job. If you've got her board maxed out, if you've got her 80 SC out of 80 SC, I think she can provide the heals and debuffing / support that you need in order to take down some of the more difficult stages in tower. I can't confirm or deny this, since you can see mine is not worked on in any way, and I have Tyria, so my perception may be a little skewed, but some of the veterans may be able to help me. I've heard Tinkley is a great option. If you have her seasonal variant, Swimsuit Tinkley, even better. I know Swimsuit Tinkley can do the job for you. Although that is a bit more limited, she only comes around once every so often. I think Lena can probably do the job as well. Tweaks is a huge advocate for Lena being a pretty viable support if you build her the right way, or I know she's a great glass record spammer, which relies on a collab specific thing, so maybe not so much, but maybe, you know, Tinkley, Lena can be your other support options. I put down G. Lukiel as well, because while she can be incredible DPS and serve a lot of functions, actually, she does come with God Heal, she comes with auto res, she comes with a res on herself, and I believe she comes with the magic skill that allows you to revive certain units. Yeah, resurrection right here. So she can bring others back to life, so I believe it'd be pretty easy to tailor her to be your support / healing utility. Support and debuff as another option. Then we've got, obviously, if you've been around for some of the collab units, Senku is incredible. He can be your healer, support, and possibly Rainbow Mage all in one if you need that. Gen is also stellar in the Tower of Trials right next to him, because he does come with glass record and a lot of your high performing debuff skills. I wanted to make sure to throw them in there just because, right, just to give people more of a sense of what they can use if you were around. You got these guys. A lot of people did enter during the Dr. Stone rerun collab, so it's very likely that you have one of these 2 characters if you're lacking Tyria, or even one of the OG units that I mentioned. I'd say definitely the order of priority. Tyria is going to be your best support. Then I'd say maybe either Gen or Senku are kind of tied. Maybe Gen a little over Senku. And then, if not, last resort are some of your OG units like G. Lukiel, and then Tinkley and Lena. Right, building them out, teaching them the proper debuff and healing support skills that they don't already come with. You're going to need it for the later stages of the tower, when the enemies start hitting harder, when you have to just get around nukes and bringing characters back to life. Very important to note. And when it comes to DPS, right, you're going to need your typical machine weapon, Trishula. This is going to help one of your 2 main DPS cover all bases in regards to enemies with certain elemental resistances. That's a big no-no. I've stroked this weapon off enough, but if damage is originally reduced to enemy's attribute resistance, aka if an enemy has 50 fire resistance and you've got your Night Lord Kyle, you ignore ignore that attribute resistance, and Kyle will hit the enemy as if the attribute resistance was 0. Now, this does not mean that if there are skills like Lilibet's trait, if the enemy has a 0 resistance to the earth element, she then lowers it by 5, making that unit weak to the earth element. It does not function in that way. It simply nullifies the resistance that you would be experiencing without Trishula. That's really going to be your most important weapon in regards to your physical DPS. So let's say you have not even touched tower, but you've got your 3 units built out, you're ready to take this on, or you have progressed, you want to at least take on as much as you can at your current progression in the game. I wanted to mention, make sure you set your teams and arcs, right? It's a little tedious because you have to pick throughout the menu screens, but you're going to unlock this second squad after you beat floor 10, and you're going to unlock the third squad after you beat floor 20. Completing the tower gives all units in these sections massive experience boosts. So this is an amazing opportunity to level up units that you aren't able to get to, because we know that character investment takes time, it takes a lot of resources and patience. Tower of Trials is a great way to bring your units up very quickly, especially when you're at the point where you can beat all 80 floors. It's a buttload of experience. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I've gotten characters from level 80 close to level 100 just by doing a run of the tower. So it's very, very lucrative to take advantage of that. Don't start completing floors without setting these character slots when they're available. And also, if you know you want to work on these certain characters while you're leveling them up, put on arcs that you want to teach certain skills to those units if you're not going to use those arcs in your main team. This is going to naturally teach the units the arc skills, because every time you clear the stage, it counts as a stage progression, as a stage clear for all the units and their arcs attached, serving as an AP grind for the units as well. And something I should note while we're on this page, just because it says 15,400 souls are being expended and 1125 red are being expended here, does not mean that that actually happens. What does happen is when you start the floor, it will only expend the amount of souls, which is tied to what arcs you're running, for the actual team that you ran. The theory behind this setup is that if you have a squad, they die, it then moves on to your second squad. You've got 2 backup squads to basically cover your first one. However, if you do clear the stage without needing to use these other 2 slots, those souls don't get expended, right? I don't know if it takes all of this and then refunds you, or if it just uses the souls on a demand basis, but the souls reflected here are not what actually get used up. You only use the souls. Technically, I would only use the souls required to run this first team, and that's kind of how you want to approach tower. You want your first team to be able to clear the whole thing, and if that's not the case, you want to reset and revisit your team build, especially unless you are late game, right? Mid game, late game. At that point, you've got many characters built out. Your team 1 shouldn't be dying in the first place, but if they are, you then actually have viable characters to back them up. But from a soul expense standpoint, it's best practice to, if you see your first team is going down, to retire from the stage completely. This is going to refresh all your souls. It's going to refresh all your characters' health, because as we know in the tower, as you progress, let's say you beat floor 5, going into floor 6, all of your characters start with the HP and MP that they left off with in the previous floor. So it's very important to think about managing that. If you do have a character that goes down, but then you still complete the stage with your other 3 characters, that character will then start with 1 HP in the next round, so you need to make sure to pop a heal on them as soon as you start. Best practices typically, so you don't waste souls, so you can kind of get a hard reset, is if you see your first team going down, go ahead and retire from the stage completely, so you can basically start fresh, revisit some of your skills, maybe switch things up as needed, just to avoid losing all of your character health or MP if that's the case, and saving on those blue and red souls as well. This also leads me to the point where we've got 80 floors to clear, right? and bringing some maxed out Arks is typically a very heavy toll on your souls. To run Eldravana, I need to have 520 red souls ready, so on and so forth for the other Arks. For your main squad, run Arkless until you can't. Especially as a player who is newer to the game, you want to hoard as many blue and red souls as possible so you can level up your Arks and or run Arks when you need them. If you start from floor 1 running your main Arks or your level 10 Arks, you will run out of these souls very quickly. You're going to be wondering why you can only do 5 floors and then you have no souls left to do anything, and then you've got no souls left to upgrade Arks, and it's not great soul management practice. Pretty easy tip: run your main squad Arkless. I typically run this team through the first 50 floors without using any Arks because I can, right? Your character's fully built out, go a long way, and it helps me reserve a lot of souls in order to keep using those souls in other features of the game where they are needed. So with that all being said, it kind of covers the setup tips and tricks, things you want to think about before going into trial. Now I want to get into specific floor milestones and things to keep in mind as you're progressing, because there are a couple walls that you need to think about, you need to be prepared for, and there are a couple Arks that are key because of certain skills that they have in order to help you push past those walls. So the first one I want to bring up is actually one that I experienced, and that was floor 40, right? That was the first wall. You're going to fight the main cast, Ray, Kyle, Lilibet. Now, it may seem easy going until you kill all the rest of the enemies except for Ray, and you're dealing 1 damage every single hit, wondering what's going on. Well, Ray is the first physical DPS immune enemy that you're going to face in the tower. This is a very, very annoying gimmick that if you don't have your mage ready, it's going to be very frustrating. You're not going to be able to progress. You're going to wonder what's going on because each one of these floors has a timer, and by dealing 1 damage per hit, you're not going to kill the enemies in time before the timer reaches 0. For this Ray, you either need a strong earth magic skill to take care of him, or you need to take advantage of your character's special attacks, right? Physical DPS is its own category that consists of your skills S1, 2, and 3 and your regular attack. Then you've got your magic DPS, which is a separate category. And then specials, your S4, is also its own unique damage category. That is the workaround for needing to use magic DPS in order to take down physically immune enemies. If you've got either an earth special on Shift Lilibet, or if you have the item Sword of the Lost Souls, which is your Trishula for your special damage, that's going to be how you take down Ray quickly and easily. Or, like I said, if you are bringing a magic DPS role as one of your units, just make sure you have a strong and usable earth spell in order to handle Ray. After floor 40, from floors 41 to 48, you will then experience the spirits, right? All of the spirits are of 1 element. They're different colors: blue, red, yellow, green, white, black, and I think that's it. They cover each of the elements, and they're going to be weak to 1 elemental type. It's whichever elemental type is effective against that specific element. For example, if it's a green element, they are going to be weak to fire, and they are physically immune. So this is where, starting from floor 41 to 48, your magic caster is going to be key here, or you need specials plus Sword of the Lost Soul. Just for visual reference and anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, this weapon right here, which is also an end game thing that you can't get unless you beat the world boss Zlorg the Devourer. Physical and special attack damage plus 15%. If special damage is resisted, ignore resistance. We saw that similar effect with Trishula, talking about physical damage. Sword of the Lost Souls is how you make your elemental specials ignore any type of elemental resistance. Another workaround is bringing a neutral type DPS AoE special. I forgot to mention that as well. Your real effective specials are going to be the AoE specials. Great example of that is our new homeboy Baran, right? He is an incredible neutral DPS. He won't need Trishula. He won't need Sword of the Lost Souls. All of his damage is not resisted by any element, whether it be his physical attacks or his specials. So he plus, I'd say, Merity as well is another great option. They both have neutral type AoEs in order to handle anyone who is physically immune. And let me not forget to mention Death God can also serve to be an extremely helpful thing if you're not running the traditional strategy, which would be bringing a Rainbow Mage, right? From floors 41 to 48. 48 especially. Floor 48 is the really annoying stage because it is, I believe, 9 waves, and each wave has spirits of a different element. So for that stage specifically, the traditional route is bringing a strong mage with an attack spell of each element, and you would have to teach them the certain skills and use SC in order to equip all the different elemental skills, which can be a bit costly. Then you're losing out on a lot of damage and damage multiplication, which is never fun. Zlorg himself is probably also a very viable Rainbow Mage for this situation, right? That is the traditional way, but with the meta being physical type DPS, there are workarounds if you don't want to spend your resources into a mage. And like I said, either Sword of the Lost Souls plus your specials or neutral specials. You can also bring Death God here, place it on all of your DPS, your physical DPS characters, and hope that physical attacks have a chance to deal instant death. Procs. It's going to vary between when it does and when it doesn't, but it can be another workaround for those looking for a similar skill. I know DeGrogue comes with a built-in Death God feature in her, so there are certain units that come with that innately. And if that's what you need to take on the tower, be sure to look out for that kind of skill. Then we've got floor 55, which introduces you to Rommel. Okay, so he tends to be an annoying little thing in the Tower of Trials because he's the first character, I believe, that is completely flinch immune, right? Typically, when you're fighting enemies up until this point, you hit them with an attack, it either interrupts what they're doing, it stops them from what they're doing, freezes them for a second so you can just keep barraging them with attacks. With Rommel, that does not happen. If he doesn't want to stand in one spot, he's not going to. He's going to be running around wherever he wants, and if you launch an attack that requires your character to stand still or attack just a certain area of effect, he may just walk right out of it, and now you just lost out on all that damage. So if you're not dealing substantial DPS quickly, he can be very annoying to deal with. I'm not sure if he's status immune as well. I don't know if you can take a character like V or Logia and start stunning him, making him immobile, so then it does freeze him in a spot where you can deal all your damage to him. But if he is, that's one way to do it. If not, which I've never brought status ailment into the tower, it's not absolutely needed. It does help in a lot of situations. But if not, you just need to have your units built out to deal substantial damage so that when you do clip him, it's taking down his health fast enough to outrun the 10-minute timer on the stage. Like I said, if you've got your 3 units fully maxed, fully built out, 80 SC built up, they should be able to handle the needed DPS and tank enough of the DPS that Rommel then dishes out to you. Then we don't experience the big wall until we get to floor 73. Oh, I have PTSD from floor 73. The first time I took it down, I thought I was ready to beat tower. I did a live stream and 73 walled me hard because I was missing a very specific skill. At floor 73, you run into the enemy Lance Veil. And not the Lance Veil that you've experienced in previous tower floors, but you run into Lance Veil, who guards almost every attack. And when he guards, heals for thousands of health at a time. So no amount of DPS when he's guarding outweighs his heals. It's insane. If you go back to the Tower of Trials live stream where I got walled by him, you can see his health go from halfway to full health in the matter of seconds because of how insane his guarding ability is. For that, you need to have this skill ready, and that is Illness Research, which you get from the Ark White Laboratory or Laboratory. Illness Research, you got to get it to level 10. Luckily, it's an Ark, so it's pretty achievable if you're if you're at this stage of the game where you've got maxed out characters, right? Your soul reserves are looking real nice. You should be able to get this Ark leveled up relatively quickly. But Illness Research at 10 SC, it's very costly, but regular attacks have a chance to inflict illness. I take this skill, I put it on all of my characters, all of them, so they're normal attacks, right? Your skills don't inflict the status ailment. Your regular attack specifically, which is the big attack button in the center of the screen, that's what has the chance to inflict illness, which stops the enemy from any HP recovery. So at that point, if Lance Vale has illness, the illness status ailment on him, he can then no longer heal on those guards, which is extremely helpful, right? At that point, you don't need skills like Shockwave, which do break through his guard. Another very helpful strategy. Like I said, there are multiple ways to handle certain situations in the tower, but I'm trying to show off things that have helped me personally complete that. And Illness Research is the key to handling floor 73, in my opinion. An overall strategy for that floor, take out the other enemies because they can be real annoying. G. Lukiel will be spamming her thunder spells, which make your units flinch, and it's an annoying time. So take out G. Lukiel and take out the Archer Girl Foul, and then everyone can then just focus on Lance Vale. You've got even the characters you're not controlling, your AI, they're focused on Lance Vale, so they're going to be regular attacking, proccing illness, and it won't be that big of a deal once you have that down. But make sure you've got Illness Research ready at your disposal, right? You got to get the Ark to level 10, teach it to the characters via AP points, and then you'll be ready to tackle that floor. It's incredible the difference when you do have illness readily available. How easy that floor becomes versus how impossible it can seem without that specific status ailment. Then we've got floor 75. This is known as the last floor until it's pretty much easy sailing to completing the tower, because you are fighting the giant stone wall that is extremely tanky and has an absolutely annoying burst AoE nuke that can just decimate your entire team if you're not prepared for it. Pretty much for this, I wrote down you need Stone Slayer, which you are going to get from, if we go to the Arks, you'll get that from the very, very sought after Ark Foreign Land Magrona. Specifically for Sharp Eyes is typically why you want this Ark, but it also comes with Stone Slayer, which is extremely important. I'm not sure if Stone Slayer is needed. I've been told that it's not. But when I don't have Stone Slayer, it makes that fight drag on and seem a lot worse than it is without it. Stone Slayer plus Special Boost, which is another skill that you get from the Ark Moonlit Murder. Special Boost plus your Slayer type gives you an extra plus 100% to your physical damage, so it's very lucrative to have. If you haven't pulled Foreign Land Magrona yet, I'm sorry. Apparently you don't need it in order to take care of the boss, but it's going to help you a ton if you have it. And then in order to survive, right? I had a first impression that gave me a false sense of security. I was able to destroy the wall when I first took it down very quickly before it got its nuke off, but I was rudely surprised by how my team was just one-shotted. So there are revive skills that you're going to want, I'd say, more often than not. The first one is Decoy, which you get from the Ark Magic Mirror Palm Ram. It's a SR Ark, and it comes with the skill at level 10 Decoy. When HP hits 0, auto-revive and slightly recover your HP. You'll want this on all your units. Generally, if they're strong enough, you don't need it, but it's an extremely safe skill to have for any situations where the enemy gets off an attack that takes you down unexpectedly. You then have Decoy to automatically revive you and then hopefully your healer can get God Heal or Stardust Heal or whatever heal off quick enough to then bring you back up, and it saves you from a lot of situations. Decoy is extremely useful. Another thing you want to note, and that's going to help you a lot in many situations, is having the Summon Stone Yggdrasil, which you do have to do a specific thing to get. Cure incapacitation and basic status ailments, recover HP for all allies. Now, you do need one character at least alive in order to use your summoning stone. So if they all die immediately, this isn't going to help you much. But let's say you have a character that has decoy in them naturally, so they do come back to life. You can then pop Yggdrasil, and it serves as a team revive. Doesn't bring them back to full health, but it brings them all back enough to where you can then take your support unit and start healing up your units as needed. In order to get the summoning stone, you're going to be relying on another Ark. Luckily, it's not an SSR, right? It's something that you will have, and that is the R-Ark Giant Tree. As you can see, mine is level 4 because I had to do this. You get this tree to level 4, you get the Ark to level 4, and that is going to unlock the subquest in the world map. Right at the start of it all, we'll take a look. Boom, the starting island when you enter the world map. World Tree Yggdrasil, it's going to unlock a subquest here. You take it on, beat Yggdrasil, beat her again so you can get the summoning stone to level 2, and then you will have full access to a very, very effective thing in the Tower of Trials when you're facing enemies that tend to nuke you down when you least expect it. Also, items like the green diamond necklace you get from beating the world boss Pablo Boria in the world map, that will help you. Or like the mummy suit is a cloth armor that you can equip to your support type, which gives them an auto res. Just make sure you've got some auto res on who you need it on. Preferably your support type, because they'll have that res spell. You revive them, get your other revives off, and then start healing everybody. But you want to make sure you've got some revives handy. Specifically for Floor 75, because he does like to nuke when you don't want him to. So boom, you beat Floor 75. You get through the rest of the floors up to 79 through your DPS, and you're at Floor 80. Now, Floor 80, I wouldn't say is a hard floor. There's nothing too crazy about it. It's just the most annoying floor in the entire Tower of Trials, in my opinion. You are fighting just Divine Beast Ray, DB Ray, and he's like Rommel, where you can't stop him with attacks. He doesn't flinch. I think he is affected by status ailments, so you can take advantage of that. But if you don't have status ailments at your disposal, he's running around doing whatever he wants. But also, there's a giant thunderstorm that covers the whole battle map that flinches your units whenever it feels like it. So not only do you have the unflinchable DB Ray, you now have your units flinching at the most inopportune times that you've ever experienced. Specifically in my case, whenever I want to pop a Nero S3, it takes a while for him to jump in the air and then spiral and get to his target. And more often than not, I get hit by a thunderbolt mid-spin right before I reach DB Ray. It's extremely annoying. In this floor, characters like Shift Lilibet are going to be extremely useful because of her S1, right? It's a one tap. Even if she gets flinched, as long as you get that skill off, it will go to completion and it will travel to wherever DB Ray is at that time and cover a sufficient area to complete the attack. It's also an earth type attack, which DB Ray is weak to since he's thunder. Having sufficient magic damage is also going to be useful, specific earth magic in particular, because you get the cast off and then it's going to proc whether your mage gets flinched or not. I think that's also a pretty traditional route to go. Piggybacking off what Shift Lilibet gives with her S1, you want kind of mid to long range physical attacks, especially ones that persist through flinch. something that we saw a lot of with the Jalabanga multiplayer quest. Any skills that you can pop off, and even if your character gets interrupted, the skill will complete itself, like an Alice S2 is very useful, or Zekis S3. And I should mention Baran, I think, is actually going to be extremely useful in that fight. I may take him into my Tower of Trials live stream for this month if I can get him built up enough and get enough skills on him before it ends, because I do want to test out Baran's trait. He is very, very flinch resistant when he's using his skills. An extremely, extremely useful trait that he has. I want to see how effective that is in the DB Ray fight here. I believe it's very effective, because not only are his attacks medium range, so he doesn't have to be up in DB Ray's face, he can be a certain distance from him, but while he's using them, he's going to avoid being flinched by the thunderstorm, I hope, right? Sometimes there are mechanics in the game that are a bit weird. Some things flinch, whereas other things break through your typical flinch resistance and will still flinch the units, but I wonder if Baran's ability does work through that gimmick in floor 80. And if anyone has tested it out already, let me know, because at that point Baran is becoming my favorite unit in all aspects of the game. But also Rabala, like I mentioned, a strong earth mage. Also her S1, S2, and S3 attack from long range, so she's earth element. DB Ray is thunder. She's gonna look incredible as one of your main DPS to get Ray down. The trick to that stage is just doing enough damage to DB Ray before the timer runs out, really. He doesn't deal a lot of damage compared to prior floors. It's really about bursting him down before the timer runs out. Those are just some ways to do that effectively. But like I said, there are multiple ways and other strategies to handle all of these trials and challenges that you face in the tower. But this guide was mainly to serve as a reference to my experience, things that have helped me with my certain setup. You know, some people may have worked on other units that aren't quite able to take advantage of the certain things I mentioned in this guide. So you may need to look elsewhere. Like I said, join the Discord or go to the main LC Discord, where people can help you of all different types of strategies and situations that they've been in. I wanted to make sure to get my experience out there, because I am able to clear Tower of Trials every time it rolls around by following everything I mentioned in this video. Those are all the things I learned that eventually led me to being able to clear the Tower of Trials in a nice, quick fashion. It's not a grind, it's not a struggle, it's not the hardest thing ever. And I'm able to get my Phantom Tower LR Arc dupe every time, and the plethora of rewards that come with beating this Tower of Trials, not to mention all the XP and AP training I can do. Tower of Trials is a very, very lucrative feature of this game, and something you want to try and start beating as soon as possible. I hope this guide helped you out. Shout out again to Utari for giving me the idea, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Like the video if there was anything you learned or anything that is going to help you out in your future progression. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I forgot or any further thoughts to add on the certain topics that I touched on, because the great thing about this game is that it's just a giant learning experience, and we're all here in class. Such a fun game, so many things to learn, and I can't wait to see what other features come in future updates. At the time of this recording, it is June 3rd, 2021, and we know that this newsletter did just drop explaining the future updates going June, July, and past August. A lot of exciting things, and I am looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I hope you're enjoying Last Cloudia, and if you're new, welcome to the journey. It's a good one. That's all I got for you this video. Y'all know what we say. Work hard, play harder. See you in the next one.